leader of an organization, how are you not close with the stars of the organization? And the dilemma right now in the WNBA is that the star players, the Asias, the Stewies, the Sabrinas, the Caitlin Clarks, they don't have a good enough relationship with the leader. The Nafisas, they don't have a good enough relationship with Cathy Engelbert. She came in and she wants all the credit for everything, but there's not enough communication between the leader and between the players. And now you got to revolt. Now everybody in the W is like, hold on, we want you up out of there. But I think the best thing I heard is, how can you negotiate if you don't communicate? And the dilemma is there's not even a negotiation, a quality negotiation right now between the players and between the W, because there's not quality communication right now between the players and between the executives for the W.
Okay, this is wild. Adam Silver just did the unthinkable, what every single Fever fan has been screaming for. He fired Cathy Engelbert. Yeah, the same commissioner who literally thought Caitlin Clark should be grateful for the WNBA just got absolutely tossed out, like yesterday's garbage. And trust me, this changes everything for the league. It's officially on fire, but before we even dive into this whole mess, let me hit you with this question. Do you think this firing came too late? Because honestly, she should have resigned ages ago.
You need to resign, period. Reason I say that, doggy, is because when a player, any player, but especially one of that magnitude, attacks you publicly like that, that weak-ass statement Commissioner Engelbert gave is not good enough. And I'm going to say it. It was a weak-ass statement. Could you imagine somebody directing comments and criticisms at you, taking conversations they've had with you directly and telling the world what you said? And did you see that statement Commissioner Engelbert gave? She basically provided no defense of herself. I mean, I don't have the statement right directly in front of me, y'all.
Mischaracterization.
A mischaracterization.
She was disheartened.
I'm disheartened at the mischaracterization.
So get this, the news just broke. Cathy Engelbert, she's gone. Fired, booted, kicked right out of her office chair, and straight into unemployment, all because she just couldn't keep her mouth shut when it came to Caitlin Clark.
Well, let me clarify first, because it's proxy season, right? No CEO do you just put the base pay in there. You put their bonus, you put their stock options, you put everything. Caitlin has the ability to make up to $500,000 just in WNBA wages this year. So, of course, they're just looking at a base which is collectively bargained. And actually, it's low because she's the #1 pick. She'll make a little more than that. But she also has millions and millions of dollars of endorsements. She's actually, because she declared to become pro, her endorsements are higher in dollar value. She has a global platform now, not just a U.S. platform. So she's going to do just fine, as will the top players in the league, as every league does. Also, there's comparisons to the men. Those men's leagues are 75 to 120 years old. We're tipping off our 28th season. I would say if you looked at them 28 seasons in, we're further ahead. But I realize we still have a lot of work to do. And it's all...
Remember all that talk about the ecosystem? Well, this is the exact same commissioner who actually thought it was smart to say Caitlin Clark should be on her knees thanking the league, the same person who let players like Alyssa Thomas throw blatant elbows, let refs completely swallow their whistles, and then somehow acted shocked when fans dared to complain about the absolute mess on the court. But here's the crazy part, the NBA finally had enough. Adam Silver, the ultimate boss, stepped in and made the call, and honestly, it was ridiculously overdue, because when you've got multiple players like Nafisa Collier publicly blasting you, Sophie Cunningham straight up calling you delusional, Lexi Hull backing that entire revolt, and an entire fan base threatening a full-blown boycott, there's literally no universe where you get to keep your job.
Thank you all for your time today. I have prepared a statement that I would like to make before taking any questions. All right. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate the Mercury for advancing to the finals. And I want to be clear, this conversation is not about winning or losing. It's about something much bigger. The real threat to our league isn't money, it isn't ratings, or even missed calls, or even physical play. It's the lack of accountability from the league office. Since I've been in the league, you've heard the constant concerns about officiating, and it has now reached levels of inconsistency that plague our sport and undermine the integrity in which it operates.
But wait, remember the comments that truly set this whole thing ablaze? Napheesa Collier, in her exit interview, didn't just criticize Engelbert, she absolutely torched her, declaring that WNBA leadership is the absolute worst in professional sports, accusing Engelbert of dismissing injuries, ignoring players, and pretending everything's fine when the refereeing is a complete joke. And then here's the dagger. Engelbert actually told her that Caitlin Clark should be grateful the WNBA even exists, because without it, she'd have absolutely nothing.
At Unrivaled this past February, I sat across from Cathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs. I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league, are making so little for their first 4 years. Her response was, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. And in that same conversation, she told me players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them. That's a mentality driving our league from the top. We go to battle every day to protect a shield that doesn't value us. The league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because of them.
Seriously, Cathy? Are you kidding me? Caitlin Clark was literally selling out arenas back in college. She had massive sponsorships locked down before she even left Iowa, and she was pulling in more viewers for a single college game than some WNBA playoff games have ever seen. So your brilliant idea is to tell her she should be grateful. That's like telling Taylor Swift she should be thankful to a karaoke bar for letting her sing a few tunes.
She's lucky she's got a $16 million deal because of the platform the WNBA gave her. It is the single dumbest thing ever said by a sports commissioner in American sports.
It's completely absurd, and that sheer arrogance is exactly why Adam Silver had zero choice in this matter, because here's the absolute truth. Caitlin Clark single-handedly saved the WNBA from being a forgotten league. She practically juiced up attendance, ratings, sponsorship, and those huge media deals, bringing in new fans in literal droves. Yet instead of protecting her, instead of making her the undisputed centerpiece, Engelbert just let her get hacked game after game, then fined anyone who dared to complain about the horrendous officiating. Even Fever head coach Stephanie White got fined just for agreeing with Cheryl Reeve, which tells you how inane it got. Coaches weren't allowed to tell the truth, players weren't allowed to tell the truth, and fans who pointed out the nonsense got labeled toxic. So Adam Silver had to step in, and make no mistake, this isn't just about Clark, this is about the entire league spiraling because Engelbert couldn't connect with players, couldn't manage referees, and just kept treating the WNBA like some sterile corporate boardroom. Let's talk about those refs for a second. Fans have been screaming all season about the mind-numbing inconsistency. Players have been screaming about the unchecked physicality. And what did Engelbert say? We have the best refs in the world. Excuse me? Best in the world? These are the same refs who couldn't call a flagrant foul if someone got body slammed through the scores table. Even Becky Hammond pointed out that if the NBA had this level of chaos, players would be throwing punches every night. But in the WNBA, it's allowed to slide because apparently drama is good for the league. Yeah, drama is great until your biggest star is lying on the floor holding her ribs while ratings plummet. Drama is great until players like Collier are out with ankle injury. Drama is great until fans throw their hands up and stop showing up, and that's exactly what started happening. Ratings dipped, attendance outside Fever games stayed stubbornly flat, fans stopped tuning into non-Clark matchups, and Engelbert just kept saying everything was fine. That's precisely why Silver finally pulled the trigger, because the WNBA was handed a golden goose in Clark, and instead of protecting it, Engelbert practically roasted it over an open fire. Now let's hit on the timing. Some will say Silver waited too long, others will say he moved fast. But here's my take. He moved precisely when the league was on the brink of imploding. You simply cannot have multiple players going viral, publicly blasting your commissioner. You can't have your MVPs and All-Stars calling leadership negligent. You absolutely cannot have Caitlin Clark fans threatening to stop watching. So this firing is as much about salvaging the WNBA as it is about punishing Engelbert. Because let's be real, the NBA doesn't want to admit it, but Clark is their undeniable cash cow. She's the reason networks agreed to that massive media rights deal. She's the reason advertisers suddenly care. She's the reason seats are packed, and without her, the WNBA is back to begging ESPN2 for a Tuesday night slot, and Engelbert had the nerve to belittle her. That's exactly why she's out of a job. But let's not shower Silver with too much credit here. He didn't suddenly wake up and realize Engelbert was bad at this. Players and fans had been screaming about it for months. This firing happened because the money was squarely at risk. The NBA could see sponsorships slipping, fans threatening boycotts, and rival leagues like Unrivaled gaining serious traction. If Clark had ever said, "I'm done with this league," it would have been a death blow, and Silver couldn't let it get that far. So Cathy's gone, and now the million-dollar question becomes, who replaces her? This is where things get super tricky, because the league doesn't just need a business mind. It needs someone who deeply understands basketball, who understands players, and who can genuinely build relationships, because the next commissioner can't just be about cutting media deals. They need to restore trust. They need to make players feel valued instead of constantly ignored. They need to make fans feel respected instead of dismissed. And honestly, that's a massive ask, because Engelbert left behind an absolute mess. You've got angry players, disillusioned fans, refs with zero accountability, and a league office that was more interested in PR spin than actual reality. Whoever steps in next is going to have to start by completely cleaning up the officiating, because until that's fixed, nothing else matters. Now let's circle back to Caitlin Clark again, because make no mistake, this firing is all about her. She is the absolute center of this storm. Her treatment on the court, her dismissal off it, and her massive, undeniable importance to the league are the core reasons Silver finally acted. And here's the ultimate irony. Engelbert thought Clark needed the WNBA more than the WNBA needed her. Turns out it was the exact opposite. The league needed Clark, and now it needs to prove it values her before she decides she's better off somewhere else. So where does this leave us? A commissioner fired mid-scandal, a fan base fuming but also a little hopeful, a league desperately scrambling to salvage its reputation, and a superstar in Caitlin Clark, who for the first time all season might actually feel like the adults in the room are taking her seriously. But don't you dare think this fixes everything. Firing Engelbert is just step one. There's still a mountain of problems: bad officiating, inconsistent discipline, poor communication with players, and a culture of fines instead of accountability. And the new commissioner has to flip that script fast. And one last thing before we move into part 2, notice how lightning fast Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull jumped in to back Collier. That wasn't random, that was a coordinated revolt. The players smelled weakness at the top and they pounced, and honestly, good for them, because without that immense pressure, without that public firestorm, Silver might have just let Engelbert limp along. Instead, she's out and the WNBA just changed forever. So here's where things really get interesting. Cathy Engelbert is gone, but the fallout is just beginning. Let's be crystal clear. Adam Silver didn't fire her because he suddenly cares about players. He fired her because she utterly embarrassed the league. When you have Napheesa Collier, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexi Hull going viral for blasting the commissioner, that's a monumental problem you simply cannot PR your way out of. Silver had to protect the NBA's investment, because remember how this isn't just about women's basketball. The WNBA's media rights are directly tied to the NBA. Silver had networks lined up for billion-dollar deals, and when Engelbert made those tone-deaf comments about Clark being great, she put the NBA's leverage at serious risk. You just don't mess with the golden goose. Now let's talk about Clark again, because frankly, everything revolves around her. This is a player in her second year as a pro, not a rookie anymore. She's already single-handedly carried the Fever to relevance. She's already broken ratings records. She's already the undeniable face of the league, whether other players like it or not. And what did Engelbert do? She dismissed her impact, dismissed her injuries, and treated her like a mere pawn in her little sustainability game. That's not leadership, that's straight up sabotage, and Collier exposed it perfectly. She told us Engelbert literally said, "Only losers complain about the ref." So all the Fever fans complaining, losers. Coaches like Stephanie White who wanted consistency, losers. Players getting hacked every single night, losers. That was Engelbert's shocking mindset. And then she doubled down by saying Clark's endorsements only exist because of the WNBA. Give me a break. Clark had national sponsors before she ever touched a WNBA court. She was the most marketable college athlete since Zion Williamson. She sold out arenas coast to coast. The league needed her, not the other way around. And that arrogance, that complete inability to see reality, is why she's unemployed today. Now here's where Adam Silver actually played it smart. He didn't just let Engelbert step down quietly. He fired her, making it unequivocally clear that the NBA had lost all confidence in her leadership. That's crucial because it sends a powerful message to players. The league office isn't untouchable anymore. You speak up, you can make change. Collier proved it. Sophie proved it. Lexi proved it. The pressure worked. But let's not kid ourselves. The problems aren't suddenly solved because the WNBA still has a colossal officiating issue. Fans aren't blind. They see the inconsistent whistles, the clear favoritism, the targeting, and firing Engelbert doesn't magically fix any of that. The new commissioner has to step in and completely overhaul the system. Full-time referees, real accountability, transparency. Otherwise, nothing truly changes. And let's be honest, refs have become the biggest story of the season. More than Clark scoring, more than Boston's dominance, more than Reese's drama. Every single week, fans are talking about blown calls, unfair ejections, and questionable suspensions. That tells you everything about how terrible the product has gotten under Engelbert. Now let's zoom out. The WNBA had a golden moment handed to them with Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Aaliyah Boston, Paige Bueckers coming soon. The spotlight was finally here.